Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the channel. My husband told me he was being transferred to London for a 2-year work assignment. I played the part of the weeping, devoted wife at the airport, but the second I turned my back, I drove straight to the bank and drained our accounts of $650,000. The very next day, I filed for divorce, having discovered the earth-shattering secret behind his business trip. The monotone voice of the PA system echoed through the Tom Bradley International terminal at LAX, blending into the chaotic hum of thousands of rushing travelers. I stood before the security checkpoint, my hands gripping Felix's large ones, trying to regulate my breathing so the tears brimming in my eyes would fall just right. Felix looked at me, his eyes gleaming with a practiced tenderness and regret. It was the face I had trusted implicitly for the past 5 years. Felix reached out, gently tucking a stray lock of hair behind my ear. His voice was deep, laced with feigned emotion. "Take care of yourself while I'm gone, Hannah. Don't overwork yourself. These 2 years will fly by, and once the project is done, I'll be right back in your arms." I nodded, letting the tears track down my cheeks, dampening my face mask. I sniffled, forcing the words out through a manufactured choke. "Make sure you eat well over there. Don't work too late. I'll be waiting for you, no matter how long it takes." Felix pulled me into a tight embrace, squeezing me so hard I could barely breathe. He patted my back, whispering promises of a bright future. He talked about the capital we'd save to upgrade to a bigger house in the suburbs. He talked about the children we'd have when he returned. I buried my face in his chest, squeezing my eyes shut not out of sorrow, but to hide the sneer of absolute disgust forming on my lips. In that moment, pressed against his broad chest, my sharp sense of smell caught a lingering foreign scent trapped in the fabric of his crisp dress shirt. It wasn't the fabric softener I used. It certainly wasn't the Ocean Breeze cologne I'd bought him for his birthday last month. It was a cloying, sweet sandalwood, mixed with heavy musk, a seductive, fiercely possessive women's perfume. That scent pierced my brain like a needle. It was a stark reminder of the naked truth behind this trip for our future. He had been holding her, probably just a few hours ago, before coming home to play the role of the model husband heading to the airport. I swallowed the bile, rising in my throat, and hugged him back one last time, a gentle squeeze to bid farewell to a marriage that had been clinically dead for 3 days. Felix released me. He gave me one last lingering look, turned, and pulled his carry on toward the security gates. His broad back was straight, his strides decisive and brimming with confidence. He turned and waved, the warm smile on his face was flawless. Performance of the loving, reluctant wife. I looked up at the digital departure board flashing Los Angeles, London, Heathrow. Go, Felix, I thought. Go far away and enjoy your little dream, because when you return, the world you knew will be nothing but ashes. I adjusted the collar of my trench coat, spun on my heels, and walked briskly out of the terminal, leaving behind the noise of departures and the man I once thought was my entire world. I drove back to our luxury condo in downtown LA. By the time I arrived, dusk had settled. The apartment was dead quiet and chillingly empty, stripped of the cabling, the warmth of the home-cooked dinners I usually prepared. I glanced at Felix's house, slippers sitting neatly on the shoe rack, and a wave of bitter amusement washed over me. This place used to be my sanctuary, a nest I had built piece by piece. Now, everywhere I looked, I only saw a suffocating blanket of lies. I didn't bother changing my clothes or turning on the living room lights. I went straight to the home office. The glow of the computer monitor cast a pale, quiet light across my face. I logged into my online banking portal, my fingers flying across the keyboard with practiced yet tense precision. The screen populated with a list of checking, savings, and high-yield certificate of deposit (CD) accounts. The total balance stared back at me. $652,500. This was our entire life savings. Actually, no, it was my life savings. Over $400,000 of it came from my parents selling a piece of commercial property back in Texas to give me a nest egg. The rest was my annual corporate bonuses and investment returns scraped together over 5 years. Felix always claimed he was terrible with money. He wanted me to handle the finances so he could focus on his career. He trusted me, or, more accurately, he trusted my perceived stupidity and blind love. He believed I would forever be the obedient little wife guarding his treasure trove. Because of this, all the high-yield accounts were either solely in my name or joint accounts where my cell phone was the primary number for two-factor authentication. I took a deep breath and began liquidating the CDs. Many were 1-2 month or 2-4 month terms that hadn't matured. By breaking them now, I would forfeit the break, accumulated interest, and pay early withdrawal penalties. I didn't care. I could lose the interest, but I wouldn't leave a single red cent of the principal for a traitor. My hand trembled slightly as I clicked to confirm the first early withdrawal. It wasn't fear. It was the raw anger boiling in my veins. This was my parents' blood, sweat, and tears. This was my youth and my sacrifice. What did he plan to do with this money? Buy a flat in London for his little mistress? Build a new nest on the ruins of my life? I liquidated one account after another, pooling the entire $650,000 into my primary checking account. Sitting there, waiting to execute the final judgment, I opened a new tab and logged into a completely separate account at a different bank, one I had secretly opened yesterday, an account Felix had no idea existed. As a premier client, my daily wire transfer limits were exceptionally high. I divided the sum into 3 massive wire transfers to ensure the automated fraud systems wouldn't freeze the funds. Every time my phone buzzed with an all-as-AG authentication text, I felt like I was snapping another invisible chain binding me to him. The transaction alerts chimed consecutively in the silent room. Your wire transfer has been processed. Current available balance, $0. I stared at the perfect round zero on the screen. My chest suddenly felt incredibly light, as if a 1,000-pound boulder had been lifted off me. The $650,000 was safely secured elsewhere. Felix was on a plane, flying toward his dream, completely unaware that his rock-solid support system had just drained his lifeblood. I leaned back in my chair, exhaled a long breath, and picked up my phone to call my best friend Lucy. She picked up on the first ring, her voice laced with anxiety. Hannah, are you okay? Did he leave? I stared at the now black monitor, my voice eerily calm. He's gone. And the money is moved. Lucy, file the divorce papers first thing tomorrow morning. Sitting in front of the pre-signed divorce petition, I let the memories from 3 days ago flood my mind, sharp as broken glass cutting into my soul. It was a sunny, crisp Los Angeles morning. I had taken the afternoon off work, feeling a childish burst of excitement as I stopped by a famous bakery in Beverly Hills to buy Felix's favorite eclairs. I planned to surprise him at his office. As I turned onto the street where his firm was located, I spotted his familiar Audi pulling out of the subterranean parking garage. I almost honked to get his attention, but a gut instinct told me to stop. Watch him, a voice whispered. See where he goes in the middle of a workday. Felix didn't drive toward the financial district where his usual clients were. Instead, he navigated toward Century City, pulling into a high-end commercial complex known for housing international consulting firms. I tailed him, keeping enough distance to remain unseen, but close enough not to lose him. He parked in front of a sleek glass building, but he didn't get out right away. He seemed to be waiting. The passenger door opened, and a young woman stepped out. She was slender, wearing a form-fitting designer dress, her long, voluminous auburn hair cascading down her back. It was Lauren, the new market. Director Felix constantly praised for her work ethic. But the way Lauren stepped out of the car, the way she turned and smiled at the man inside, was absolutely not the dynamic of a subordinate and her boss. I parked in a blind spot, my heart hammering against my ribs, my eyes glued to the gleaming brass sign where the two of them were walking side by side. Global, Relocation and UK Immigration Consultancy. Those words hit me like a bucket of ice water, paralyzing my senses. Not a romantic coffee shop, not a sleazy motel, but a relocation agency. That detail was worth 1,000 lies. It exposed a truth far more devastating than physical infidelity. Felix wasn't just cheating. He was plotting to discard his current life and run away. I pulled my sunglasses down, put on a medical mask, and quietly followed them. Inside, catching the next elevator up. When the doors opened on the 12th floor, I saw them standing at the reception desk. I hid behind a large potted ficus in the waiting area, close enough to hear their hushed voices, far enough to remain hidden. Lauren was whining playfully, adjusting Felix's tie. Her hand stroked his chest with practiced, possessive familiarity. She whispered, her voice sickeningly sweet, yet grating on my ears like nails on a chalkboard. Baby, what about her? Aren't you worried she'll get suspicious and make a scene when you leave? Felix scoffed. It was a cruel, arrogant smirk I had never seen at home. He took Lauren's hand and kissed her forehead indulgently. He hadn't touched me with that kind of gentleness in years. Don't worry about it, babe, he replied, his tone cold and calculating. I told. Then her it's a 2-year corporate assignment. That dumb bitch bought it hook, line, and sinker. She's even encouraging me, thinking we'll use the savings to buy a McMansion when I get back. Once we're settled in London and close on the flat in, both our names, I'll file for an absentee divorce. I have control of the finances. She won't be able to do a damn thing. My heart felt like it was being crushed in a vice. The pain was so agonizing I had to clamp a hand over my mouth to stifle a sob. The business trip for our DHB, a future I had been so proud of, was an escape plan with his mistress. And the future he painted had absolutely no room for me. I didn't storm out. I didn't scream or tear them apart in the middle of a fancy lobby. I stood frozen, feeling every cell in my body die, only to resurrect into something else, something colder, something ruthless. I turned around and walked away, swallowing my tears, carrying a hatred etched deep into my bones. In a moment, I knew exactly what I had to do. I had to take back everything that to belong to me before this sinking ship of a marriage dragged me to the bottom of the ocean, back in the present. With the $650,000 secured, I moved to the next step of my plan. I drove down to Orange County to visit my in-laws. I lied and said I was coming to drop off some gifts and wish them well since Felix had just flown out. The drive down the 405 freeway was smooth, but my chest felt heavy. I knew what I was about to face might be even crueler than the scene at the immigration office. The sprawling suburban house, largely paid for by money I had contributed over the years, looked deceptively peaceful. My mother-in-law hurried out to open the Clysening Marian's R4 gate. Her smile stretched ear to ear when she saw the massive luxury gift basket and the envelope in my hands. She pulled me inside, her mouth running nonstop, with praises for her brilliant, devoted son. Our Felix is meant for great things, Hannah. He said this trip is a massive career leap. It'll bring prestige to the whole family. You need to behave while he's gone. Don't be one of those paranoid, nagging wives that distracts her. Husband. A woman's job is to be a solid foundation. You have to sacrifice if you want your husband's respect and love. I looked at her, my heart as cold as a glacier. Did she not know her son was running off with his mistress? Or did she know, and she was actively helping him hide it? I placed the envelope containing a $1,000 check on the table. Let this be the final debt I pay for the title of daughter-in-law. Yes, I know, Mom, I said softly. Felix works so hard. I just want him to be safe and successful. Taking advantage of the moment she went to the kitchen to prepare lunch, I slipped into my in-laws' home office. This was where they kept the family's important documents. Felix, in his arrogance and rush, had left behind a dreading large fireproof lockbox containing his original birth certificate, old passports, and some crucial joint financial records from early in our marriage, things I desperately needed for Lucy to expedite an at-fault divorce filing and asset freeze in California. I quickly found the documents, shoved them into my designer tote bag, and walked back to the living room as if nothing had happened. Just then, the landline rang. My mother-in-law rushed out of the kitchen to answer it. She didn't notice me standing partially obscured by the heavy drapes. Her voice boomed with pride as she spoke to a relative in Florida. Oh, stop worrying. Felix has it all figured out. He said once he's settled over there and buys a nice big flat, he'll sponsor us to come visit. As for that useless wife of his, who cares? She hasn't even given me a grandson, and she's as boring as a rock. Felix has been sick of her for ages. He's just leaving her here to watch in the house. When the dust settles, he'll toss her a little alimony and divorce. Her, problem solved. Every word from my mother-in-law struck my eardrums like a sledgehammer, shattering whatever fragile remnants of familial loyalty I had left. I was the only one in the dark. They treated me like a maid, a house sitter, a walking ATM. Meanwhile, they were all plotting a luxurious future across the Atlantic, without me. I stood still as a statue, my fingernails digging so hard into my palms that they broke the skin. But I didn't feel the pain. Physical pain was nothing compared to the bleeding wound in my soul. I took a deep breath, composed my face, and stepped out from hiding, pretending I had just come from the restroom. I forced down lunch that day, every bite tasting like sand. I looked at the smiling, hypocritical faces of my in-laws, silently swearing that this would be the absolute last time I ever set foot in this house. When I said my goodbyes, I looked at the house one last time. There was no nostalgia in my eyes, only the absolute resolve of a woman pushed to the brink. Leaving Orange County, I drove straight to Lucy's law firm on the 20th floor of a sleek Century City high-rise. Lucy wasn't just my attorney. She was my best friend from college. She had witnessed my entire relationship with Felix and was the first person to warn me about the calculating look in his eyes. Her office was minimalist, radiating the same sharp professional coldness as her courtroom persona. She greeted me with a fierce hug, no empty platitudes. She just quietly placed a cup of hot tea in front of me. She knew I didn't need pity right now. I needed a strategy. I needed a sharp sword to cut these cursed teeth. Lucy opened a thick file folder on her desk, her voice crisp and authoritative. I've finalized the divorce petition. Since Felix is out of the country, serving him is slightly more complex, but we have a massive advantage. She pushed a stack of photos toward me. It was hard evidence collected by Paul, a private investigator she had hired 3 days ago. Photos of Felix and Lauren kissing at the airport, copies of their flight, itineraries showing they were on the same flight, and most importantly, bank statements showing the purchase of 2 first-class tickets to London, paid from a secret account Felix thought I couldn't trace. Lucy continued, the eyes of a legal gladiator gleaming. Our strategy is strike. First, ask questions later. Your withdrawal of the $650,000 is perfectly legal. The accounts were in your name, or you were a joint owner with full transaction rights. Furthermore, we have a paper trail proving the bulk of that money was a gift from your parents. We will argue to the judge that you secured those funds to prevent the dissipation of marital assets, seeing as Felix has been secretly transferring money to the UK to buy real estate with his mistress. I nodded, feeling a wave of reassurance wash over me. She was right. I wasn't robbing anyone. I was simply taking back what was mine, what I had earned, through my labor and love. Lucy checked her Rolex and gave me a sly half smile. It's 8 p.m. here in LA. That means it's about 4 a.m. in London. The lovebirds probably landed a while ago and are happily checking into their luxury hotel. This is the golden hour to deliver a welcome gift. She turned her monitor toward me. On the screen was a pre-drafted email, addressed to both of Felix's personal and work emails. The subject line was blank. The body was brief. Attached was a scanned PDF of my signed divorce petition, the photographic evidence of his affair, and a screenshot of his primary bank account showing a balance of $0. My finger hovered over the enter key. I hesitated for a fraction of a second, not out of mercy, but because I knew that after this click, my life would veer into a violent storm, but one that would end in freedom. I took a breath, remembering his arrogant smirk at the immigration office, remembering his mother's venomous words. Click. The sound of the keyboard echoed in the quiet office. The email was sent. Lucy patted my shoulder encouragingly. It's done. Go home, take a hot shower, pour a glass of wine, and wait. The phone call from across the pond will come very soon. That night, a sudden, unseasonal rainstorm hit Los Angeles. The rain battered against my floor-to-ceiling windows, mirroring the shattered pieces of my heart. I sat alone in my massive living room, holding a glass of expensive Cabernet. I didn't drink it. I just let the chill of the glass seep into my palms. My iPhone lay silent on the coffee table like a sleeping monster, but I knew it was about to wake up and roar. Exactly at 11 p.m., the screen lit up, followed by a frantic, piercing ringtone that made my chest tighten. The caller ID flashed. Hubby, It was a cruelty of the highest irony. Felix was calling. It was slightly earlier than I anticipated. He must have just tried to hand his credit card to the hotel concierge, only to have it declined, prompting him to open his banking app. I let it ring for a long time, taking deep breaths to center myself. Finally, I swiped to answer. I put it on speaker, set the phone down, and braced for the transatlantic hurricane. Hannah! What the fuck did you do? Felix's roar blasted through the speaker, tearing through the quiet room. His voice wasn't the deep, soothing baritone from the airport. It was unhinged, frantic, and laced with absolute panic. I could hear him hyperventilating, the sound of luggage being kicked in the braiding into background. Are you out of your damn mind? Why are the accounts empty? Why are my cards declining? Where is the money, Hannah? Do you have any idea how humiliating it is to stand at the reception of the Savoy with declined cards? I took a slow sip of the Cabernet, letting the dry, bitter tannins coat my tongue. Then, I replied, my voice as cold and sharp as a scalpel. Hello, Felix. How was the flight? Is Lauren feeling okay? She must be. Exhausted. It takes a lot of energy to service you for an 11-hour flight. Dead silence on the other end. Only heavy, ragged breathing. A suffocating silence fell over the line, as if someone had just wrapped hands around Felix's throat. He stuttered, his rage rapidly devolving into terror. What are you talking about? How long have you known? I've known since you held her hand walking into that UK visa agency. Since you kissed her forehead and promised her a flat in London using my money. I know. Everything, Felix. Did you think I was a moron? Did you really think I was going to sit here for 2 years, playing house, just waiting for you to bring your mistress back and kick me to the curb? You psycho bitch, you're a thief. Put the money back right now. That is my hard-earned money. If you don't wire it back, I'm calling the police. I will. Have you thrown in federal prison? Felix screamed. Desperation had stripped away his polished facade, revealing a greedy, pathetic core. I let out a harsh laugh that echoed in the rainy night. Call them. I dare you. That money was in my name, and the bulk of it was a gift from my parents. I can do whatever I want with it. You are the marital fraud. Consider that money my reckoning. Severance package for the 5 years of my youth I wasted on you, and a tax on my own stupidity. Oh, by the way, that flat you secretly put a down payment on in London? My lawyer is already filing motions to claw back my half of that marital asset. You won't keep a single dime. Hannah, please listen to me. Don't do this. We're husband and wife. Felix's voice suddenly dropped, morphing into pathetic begging as he realized I held all the cards. I cut him off. Husband and wife? My husband died the second he walked into that immigration office. The man I'm talking to right now is just a greedy, cheating stranger. Goodbye, Felix. Enjoy your new life with your mistress and an empty wallet in a foreign country. I hung up and immediately blocked his number. The room fell silent again, save for the rain. I looked at the black screen of my phone. I didn't feel the euphoric triumph I thought I would. I just felt a sprawling, hollow sadness. I had won the war, but I had lost the man I once loved more than anything. I thought the aftermath of that phone call would grant me a few days of peace to pick up my pieces, but life wanted to test my endurance one more time. The next morning, as I watched the raindrops cling to the palm leaves outside my window, my phone buzzed with an iMessage. It wasn't from the bank, and it wasn't from my ex. It was an unknown number, the profile picture showing a young, radiant woman, smiling. I opened it. It was a close-up photo of a perfectly manicured hand clasping a large, masculine hand, taken against the backdrop of an airplane window, showing the blue sky. On the woman's ring finger was a massive, sparkling diamond ring. A ring I recognized instantly. Felix had shown me that exact design months ago, lying and saying he was picking out a retirement gift for a senior female partner at his firm. Lauren, the mistress, had officially declared war. She was shameless, flaunting her prize like a victorious conqueror. The accompanying text was dripping with venom. Hey, Hannah, thanks for letting Felix go. You're too old and boring for his ambitions anyway. Take care of your health back home. We'll be living our best lives for you over here. I stared at the text. I didn't feel rage or jealousy. I just found it incredibly comical. She thought she had won. She thought she had stolen a wealthy, perfect man, completely unaware that she was holding onto a financial corpse with a maxed out credit limit. I didn't block the number, nor did I text back a string of curses. I calmly took a screenshot of the photo and the message. Right then, an email popped up from Paul, Lucy's PI. It was a background check on Lauren. The truth was hilarious. Lauren was drowning in $80,000 of credit card and personal loan debt in the US due to her lavish lifestyle. Latching onto Felix and moving to the UK wasn't just about love. It was her escape route from aggressive stateside debt collectors. I smirked. I opened the Facebook app and drafted a new status update. I didn't cry. I didn't post a long, tragic essay. I simply uploaded a photo of the 70 clearing Los Angeles sky with a short caption. The sky is always clearest after a storm. Cheers to the single life. Thank you for leaving so I could find myself again. Goodbye to the past and best of luck to whoever likes scavenging the trash I threw away. I tagged a few mutual friends, the biggest gossips in our social circle. Within 10 minutes, the post had hundreds of likes and comments. Shock, questions, and outrage spread like wildfire. I knew the rumors would travel faster than light. My silence would be the ultimate psychological torture for the two of them. Across the globe, Lauren wanted a title. I gave her one. The scavenger, the homewrecker, a label she would wear forever. I tossed my phone onto the sofa, leaned back, and closed my eyes, letting a rare moment of peace wash over me. You don't need to scream or fight to destroy a mistress. You just need cold indifference and perfectly timed cruelty. The news of my divorce filing and the emptied bank accounts reached Felix's bank Dakes family instantly. 2 days later, my in-laws and a small army of aunts, uncles marched up to my condo complex, demanding entry. When the concierge called up, I authorized them. Let them come. They pounded on my mahogany door. I opened it to face Felix's parents and his extended family. My mother-in-law, a woman who went to church every Sunday and preached charity, was red in the face. She pointed a trembling finger at my nose. You evil, spiteful woman. Are you trying to kill my son? He goes overseas to work his fingers to the bone for your future, and you try to ruin him. Give him his money back right now, or I'm calling the LAPD to have you arrested for grand larceny. My father-in-law stood behind her. Though he wasn't yelling, his eyes were full of contempt. I am so disappointed in you, Hannah. We treated you like our own daughter. How could you be so vicious? If you have marital issues, keep it behind closed doors. Why are you airing dirty laundry and stealing his money? The relatives chimed in, throwing insults like stones. They called me greedy, immoral, a bad wife who couldn't keep her man. I stood there, leaning against the entryway table, hands clasped tightly together to hide my shaking. I had spent years caring for these people, visiting them in the hospital, buying their groceries. But the moment a storm hit, their true colors showed. They would blindly protect their blood, logic, and morality be damned. I waited for their shouting to die down. Then, without a word, I walked to the Brost living room coffee table and picked up a thick manila envelope I had prepared. I tossed it onto the glass table, sliding it toward my mother-in-law. Look at those before you open your mouths again. Look at your perfect, dutiful son. My mother-in-law snatched up the photos. Her hands began to shake violently as she saw her son kissing another woman. She saw the real estate contracts for a London flat with both their names on it. She saw the wire transfer receipts from our joint account to Lauren's personal account. The evidence was irrefutable. The room went dead silent. You could hear a pin drop. The aggressive, self-righteous faces turned ash white with deep, humiliating embarrassment. My mother-in-law dropped the photos, collapsing onto the sofa, her mouth opening and closing soundlessly. The moral high ground they had just tried to lecture me from had vanished. I looked my father-in-law dead in the eye, my voice cutting through the silence. I secured that money to protect my assets I bled for over the last 5 years. He took my money to fund his mistress and buy her a house. Did you know? Or did you know and just play along, treating me like a workhorse while you all planned to move to London? No one dared to meet my gaze. They averted their eyes, slowly backing out the presider door like defeated soldiers. I slammed the door shut behind them and slid down, the wood paneling to the floor. The massive condo was empty again. I didn't cry, but my chest ached. The concept of family I had tried so hard to build was just a hollow shell masking deep rot. Today, I smashed that shell. It hurt, but it was necessary to set myself free. After the hurricane with my in-laws, I submitted my resignation at my corporate mentory and edited. Job. The suffocating office politics and the whispers behind my back were draining the last of my energy. I needed a pause. I needed a place to heal. With the capital I had secured, I decided to fulfill a dream I'd had since college but never pursued because I was too busy being a wife, opening a tea and pottery studio. I leased a charming, slightly rundown two-story building in a quiet, leafy neighborhood in Pasadena. It had exposed brick walls and a massive bougainvillea wrapping around the front porch. I threw myself into renovations. I picked out every tile, every table, every chair. The smell of fresh paint and wet clay became the scent of my rebirth. I worked from dawn till dusk. Molding lifeless lumps of clay into beautiful shapes helped calm my mind. When my hands were caked in mud and my back ached, I felt truly alive. I was no longer the submissive wife or the dutiful daughter-in-law. I even chopped off my long hair, the hair Felix always said he loved, into a sharp, edgy bob. Looking in the mirror, I smiled. The weight of the world was gone. During the renovation, I met Tyler. He was a 5-year-old architect and general contractor recommended by a friend. At first glance, Tyler wasn't flashy. He wore faded Carhartt shirts, paint-splattered jeans, and had deep, soulful eyes that carried a hint of melancholy. He was a man of few words, quietly listening to my ambitious design ideas, occasionally nodding and offering practical advice on load-bearing walls and lighting. He worked meticulously, treating the shop as if it were his own home. On scorching LA afternoons, I'd watch him climb the scaffolding to fix the wiring, sweat dripping from his brow, his focus unwavering. One late afternoon, as I was struggling to arrange heavy ceramic vases on a high shelf, Tyler walked in, holding a steaming paper cup. He set it on the counter, his deep voice breaking the silence. "Drink some chamomile tea. It's getting chilly outside." That simple act of care made me freeze. How long had it been since someone told me to stay warm? How long had I been taking care of others while forgetting I needed care, too? I mumbled a thank you and took a sip. The warmth spread from my throat to my chest, thawing a piece of my frozen heart. "What are you naming the shop?" Tyler asked suddenly, looking out at the bougainvillea rustling in the wind. "Serenity," I replied, staring into the distance. "Because that's all I want for the rest of my life. Just serenity." Tyler nodded. His eyes held a deep empathy, as if he could see the invisible scars I was hiding behind my calm exterior. There was no flirting, no rushing, just mutual respect and a quiet connection slowly forming from the ashes of my past. As serenity tea and ceramics took shape, Tyler's presence in my life became a comforting constant. He wasn't just a contractor. He became a silent protector, always stepping in to help with the heavy lifting I couldn't manage. One afternoon, I brought tacos to the site for the crew. I found Tyler sitting alone on the back patio, staring at his phone screen with a rare, incredibly tender smile. Curious, I walked closer and saw he was on a FaceTime call with a little girl, maybe 5 or 6 years old. She had big, bright eyes and was happily babbling about her kindergarten day. Seeing me, Tyler quickly said goodbye to his daughter and hung up. His smile faded, replaced by his usual quiet demeanor. Through short conversations over the following weeks, I learned his story. Tyler's wife had passed away 3 years ago from aggressive breast cancer. He was a single dad, balancing the grueling demands of construction work with raising his daughter Bella, trying to give her a perfect life. His story touched the softest part of my heart. I looked at this rugged, calloused man with immense respect. He had experienced the ultimate loss, but he didn't collapse or complain. He chose to be strong out of love and duty. My friend Chloe, who visited the shop often, kept winking and trying to play matchmaker. "Look at him, Hannah. He's a good, honest man, and you're both lonely. It makes total sense. Good men are practically extinct in LA. If you don't grab him, someone else will." I just laughed and brushed her off. To me, the word man still triggered anxiety. It was an unhealed scar. Felix's betrayal had left a gaping hole in my loaded ability to trust. I was terrified of starting over, terrified of opening up only to be gutted again. I just want money and freedom, Chloe, I told her, half joking but entirely serious. Men are the most expensive liability on earth. I'd rather be lonely and at peace than share a bed and constantly worry about getting stabbed in the ratted back. But despite my tough talk, every time I saw Tyler fixing a broken light fixture for me or carefully wiping paint smudges off the floorboards, my heart fluttered. I knew I was scared, but deep down I still craved a genuine connection, a sturdy shoulder to lean on when I was tired. The wound was just too fresh, and I needed time to let it scar over. 3 weeks after Felix left, the legal battle officially commenced. It was no longer just shouting over the phone. It was black ink on white paper in the black ink on white paper. California family court system. Lucy called me on a gloomy Tuesday morning. Her voice was unusually grave. We met at a coffee shop near the courthouse. Seeing her tense expression, I knew my opponent wasn't going down without a fight. Lucy dropped a massive stack of legal filings on the table and sighed. The court accepted the divorce petition. But just as I feared, Felix hired a shark defense firm in Beverly Hills. And worse, they are countersuing you for embezzlement and grand theft. I froze, feeling like I had been slapped. I expected him to curse and threaten me, but I didn't expect him to be shameless enough to sue me. Lucy opened the file, pointing to pages filled with legal jargon. His lawyers are arguing that the $650,000 in your accounts was actually working capital for a shell LLC he created, not marital property. They manufactured a bunch of bogus investment trust documents backdated, of course, to claim the funds belonged to third-party investors. I read the lawsuit, the words slithering across the page like vipers. Felix didn't just want the money back. He wanted to paint me as a white-collar criminal. He wanted to put me in jail to satisfy his rage. His ruthlessness exceeded my wildest imagination. I clenched my fists, suppressing the fury in my chest. What do we do? I have proof the money came from my parents, and I have my W-2S and bonus pay stubs for the last 5 years. Is that enough to destroy his claim? Lucy nodded, her eyes flashing. It's enough, but it's going to be a brutal war of attrition. We have to prove his documents are forged. We need forensic, accountants, handwriting experts, but most importantly, we need hard proof that he used marital funds to buy that London flat. If we prove he breached the fiduciary duty to the marriage, the judge will see his true colors and toss his bogus countersuit. The first mediation session happened a week later. Felix, of course, was absent. He was represented by an arrogant senior partner in a $5,000 suit, who in a Vlake relentlessly attacked my character, painting me as a vindictive, thieving wife, while conveniently ignoring Felix's mistress and secret real estate. But Lucy didn't flinch. She hammered back with bank subpoenas and the paper trail linking our joint accounts to the London property. The room was thick with tension. I looked at the man trying to destroy me on behalf of my husband, feeling sick to my stomach. Felix would do anything to wring that money out of me. I thought the worst battles would happen in court, but real chaos erupted on the grand opening day of Serenity Tea and Ceramics. It was a beautiful, sunny California day. I wore a vintage cream linen dress, bustling around welcoming friends and my first customers. The shop smelled of roasted sencha tea, and soft lo-fi music played in the background. Everything felt perfect. But right in the middle of the celebration, a massive, lifted black Ford F-150 screeched to a halt right in front of the shop. The aggressive braking made everyone turn. 4 massive, heavily tattooed men stepped out, looking like textbook enforcers. They stormed into the shop with a menacing swagger. Customers stepped back in fear. The joyful atmosphere evaporated, replaced by thick panic. The leader, a heavy-set guy wearing a thick gold chain, barked, "Who the hell is? Hannah? Felix's wife. Step up." I swallowed my terror, stepping out from behind the counter to face them, keeping my voice as steady as possible. "I'm Hannah. Who are you, and why are you causing a scene in my shop?" The leader sneered, slamming a crumpled piece of paper onto a ceramic display table. "I'm your husband's creditor." Before Felix ran off to the UK, he took out a $200,000 hard money bridge loan from my boss to start a business, he said. His wife was staying behind as the guarantor. Now he's MIA, his phone is dead, and we want our money. You're the wife, you pay. I looked at the document. It was a sketchy promissory note with an astronomical interest rate bearing Felix's signature and a stamp from an unlicensed lending group. And the most terrifying part? Under guarantor, my name was printed, but the signature line was blank. You have the wrong person, I said firmly. I know nothing about this loan, and I never signed as a guarantor. Look closely, the signature line is blank. Whoever took the money pays the debt. Find Felix. I filed for divorce. I have nothing to do with him. Fuck your divorce. The leader slammed his fist on the table, shattering a delicate, hand-thrown ceramic teapot. California is a community property state. Bitch, marital debt belongs to both of you. If you don't cough up the cash, today, you're not doing business here. Boys, smash it. Following his command, the goons moved to wreck the displays. Customers screamed and bolted for the door. I stood paralyzed in the chaos, watching my heart, soul about to be destroyed on its very first day. Tears of utter helplessness welled in my eyes. I wasn't scared of losing the money. I was terrified that the ghost of Felix would never let me live in peace. Just as one of the thugs raised a baseball bat toward a shelf of expensive imported tea, a tall figure lunged forward, placing himself squarely between me and the gang leader. It was Tyler. He wasn't in his work clothes today. He was wearing a crisp white button-down, having come to celebrate my opening. But now, that shirt was acting as a shield. Tyler didn't throw a punch. He stood solid as an oak tree, staring dead into the leader's eyes, his voice low but booming with authority. Stop right there. You're committing felony vandalism and trespassing. Step outside. The leader paused, sizing Tyler up, then laughed mockingly. Who the fuck are? You, Captain America? I'm collecting a legal debt. Cops don't scare me. Maybe, but I know the law. Tyler pulled out his phone, holding up the screen. It showed an active call to the local LAPD precinct captain. I already dispatched the Pasadena police. They'll be here in 3 minutes. You want to? Explain your extortion tactics to the detectives, or do you want to walk away? Hearing the mention of the police captain, the leader's face shifted. Contractors like Tyler often had deep ties with local city officials and police. He cursed under his breath, signaling his boys to back off. You got lucky. Today, tough guy. But you, he pointed a meaty finger at me, I'm not done with. You owe us blood money. He stormed out, his crew in tow. As the truck's engine roared into the distance, my legs gave out. I collapsed onto the floor amidst the shattered pottery. Tyler quickly knelt beside me, his eyes filled with worry and pain. He gently helped me to a surviving chair and grabbed a first aid kit to bandage a small cut on my arm from a flying shard of ceramic. Later at the police station, with Lucy's rapid legal intervention and the shop's security footage, we proved that the loan was taken out fraudulently by Felix, likely to fund his escape or fuel illegal gambling. Because I never signed it, and because Felix was under investigation for fraud, the police issued a restraining order against the debt collectors and promised extra patrols around my shop. Walking out of the precinct into the cool LA night, I looked at Tyler walking beside me. An indescribable emotion swelled in my chest. He didn't brag. He just quietly stayed by my side, handling the fallout smoothly. Looking at his broad, dependable silhouette under the amber streetlights, the massive fortress I had, built around my heart, violently crumbled. I realized that in the middle of life's vicious storms, there was still someone willing to stand in the rain to keep me dry, asking for nothing in return. A week after the loan shark incident, my life slowly returned to normal, though anxiety still lingered. I received a FedEx envelope from Paul, the private investigator. It was the latest update on Felix and Lauren in London, complete with long-lens surveillance photos. I sat in the corner of my shop and opened the envelope. The photos showed that the dream life of the young lovers was rapidly deteriorating. The money Felix brought with him was burning at a terrifying speed due to London's astronomical cost of living and Lauren's uncontrollable shopping addiction. In the photos, Lauren no longer looked like the glamorous, radiant woman from the airport. She looked haggard, wearing sweatpants, her face twisted in a permanent scowl. One photo caught them in a screaming match in the middle of a Sainsbury's grocery store. Lauren was pointing a finger in Felix's face while he stared at the ground, looking utterly defeated. Paul's notes read, "Lauren is relentless. Since Felix couldn't get the $650K from you, he can't fund her designer lifestyle. They fight constantly. Almost came to blows." I looked at the photos without an ounce of gloating. I just smiled a bitter, hollow smile. The true love they used to justify destroying my life was incredibly cheap. When the money ran out, their epic romance revealed itself as nothing but shallow exploitation and cold calculation. Reading further, a new piece of information made me gasp. Driven into a corner by Lauren's demands and his own lack of funds, Felix had turned to a dangerous path. He got involved in a massive, illicit cryptocurrency and forex scam ring, run by shady expats in the UK, hoping to make back his fortune overnight. "It's a death trap," Paul wrote. "The ringleaders are professional grifters. They're bleeding him dry." With his current gambler's mentality, Felix is going to lose whatever pennies he has left. I folded the letter, looking out the window at the autumn leaves falling on the sidewalk. Felix was digging his own grave. I didn't need to lift a finger. I just had to sit back and let karma execute its flawless justice. He sowed the wind. He was about to reap the whirlwind. One chilly, drizzly afternoon, as I was taking inventory of newly arrived clay, my phone buzzed with a Facebook Messenger notification. I glanced at the screen, and the name made me freeze. Lauren. It wasn't a boastful, arrogant message like her first one. The tone was completely different, desperate, pathetic, and almost unbelievable. I opened the Playam Stevers message. It was a block of frantic text, riddled with typos, showing the sender was in a state of absolute panic. "Hannah, please, I'm so sorry. I know I was wrong. Felix tricked me. He's not rich or successful like he said. He's cheap. He makes me work off the books as a dishwasher in a pub just to buy food. He spends all day gambling on crypto." I read it, a dark chuckle escaping my lips. The mansion built on lies was collapsing already? Before I could reply, another message chimed in, followed by a photo of Lauren's badly bruised arm. "He hit me yesterday, Hannah. He lost a ton of money and took it out on me. I'm so scared. I want to go back to the US, but he took my passport and my cards. Please, I'm begging you. Can you lend me money for a flight home? I swear I'll pay you back. I'll testify in court for you. I'll tell the judge he cheated and stole your money. Please save me." Reading this, I burst out laughing. The sound echoed bitterly in the quiet pottery shop. Who did she think I was? Mother Teresa? Did she really think I was? Stupid enough to rescue the woman who blew up my marriage? She was willing to sell out her lover the second things got hard. Her treacherous, parasitic nature hadn't changed a bit. I slowly typed my reply, my heart as calm as a glass lake. "Lauren, is this a stand-up routine? You picked your poison, now drink it. You stole another woman's husband, and now he's beating you. Sounds like the universe working exactly as it should. Trash belongs in the trash can. Don't expect me to recycle it and bring it back into my home. Have a nice life, and never contact me again." I hit send and permanently blocked her account. I set the phone down, watching the drizzle outside. I didn't feel triumphant seeing her bruised, nor did I pity her. Lauren was just a pawn, a victim of her own blinding greed. She traded her youth and dignity for a mirage. Now, the brutal reality of London was teaching her a lesson she would never forget. After months of grueling legal battles, failed mediations, and fierce clashes, between our attorneys, the day of judgment finally arrived. That morning in Los Angeles, the sun broke through a week of gloom, casting a warm golden light over the courthouse steps. I walked into the courtroom feeling anchored. Beside me was Lucy, my lawyer, my friend, my shield. On the other side of the aisle, the respondent's chair was empty. Felix's high-priced attorney sat alone, looking far less arrogant than he had months ago. The ironclad evidence we presented, the affair, the secret transfers to buy UK real estate, and the fraudulent loan he took out to sabotage my credit had all been systematically laid out by Lucy. The judge, a stern but perceptive middle-aged woman, adjusted her glasses and began to read the verdict. The courtroom was dead silent. I held my breath, my heart pounding. Based on the evidence presented, the court grants the petition for dissolution of marriage requested by the petitioner, Hannah. The judge paused, looking over her documents. Regarding the marital assets, totaling $650,000 currently held in escrow, the court finds the respondent, Felix, guilty of egregious breach of fiduciary duty under California Family Code, Section 1101. The respondent willfully engaged in fraud, transferring community property to a third-party paramour to purchase foreign real estate without the petitioner's consent. I squeezed Lucy's hand, my palms sweating. The next sentence made me burst into tears. Therefore, pursuant to Family Code Section 1101H, as a penalty for malice and fraud, the court awards 100% of the $650,000 asset to the petitioner, Hannah. Furthermore, the respondent is ordered to pay $50,000 in attorney's fees and emotional distress damages. The gavel banged. Bang. It was the sound of a 5-year nightmare ending. I sat frozen in my chair as tears streamed freely down my face. Not tears of weakness, but tears of absolute liberation. I won. Not just financially, but I had clawed back my dignity and justice. Walking out of the courthouse, I looked up at the vast blue California sky. The breeze was cool, but I felt incredibly warm. I was free. From this day forward, I was no longer Felix's wife. I was no longer the servant to his ungrateful family. I was Hannah, the master of my own destiny. News of Felix didn't come through harassing phone calls anymore. It came through international news alerts and updates from Paul. The London dream Felix had, built on a foundation of lies and betrayal, collapsed like a sandcastle in a hurricane. The Metropolitan Police in London officially raided and dismantled the crypto and forex fraud syndicate Felix had joined. Because Felix couldn't prove the legal origin of the funds he had been funneling through their accounts, he was indicted as an active co-conspirator. His UK bank accounts were frozen. The suburban flat he bought with Lauren was seized by British authorities as proceeds of crime. Disaster struck him from all sides. But the most agonizing blow didn't come from the law. It came from the very woman he sacrificed his life for. Lauren, smelling the imminent danger, raided their safe, stealing whatever cash and designer watches were left, and vanished into the night. Paul sent me a photo of Felix sitting at a London bus stop. His clothes were filthy and rumpled, his beard overgrown and unkempt. His eyes stared blankly into the void. He looked nothing like the polished, confident executive he once was. He was just a homeless vagrant, penniless, alone, awaiting a criminal trial and certain deportation. Looking at the photo, a chill ran down my spine. Karma spares no one. It's just a matter of time. Felix had meticulously calculated how to throw me out on the Tuplas street with nothing. Now, he had been robbed by his lover and thrown out onto the literal street destitute and pathetic. I turned off my phone, feeling not a single drop of pity. The punishment was severe, but perfectly proportional to his greed and cruelty. I went back to arranging flowers in my shop, carefully trimming a lotus stem, silently telling myself, let the past die, let the wicked carry the weight of their own sins. Late one evening, as I was wiping down the espresso machine and preparing to close the shop, the landline rang. Few people called the shop's landline at this hour, usually just wrong numbers or telemarketers. I picked it up, intending to end the call quickly. But the voice on the other end made my heart skip a beat. Hannah, please help me. I was wrong. It was Felix. His voice was hoarse, trembling, and utterly desperate, mixed with the sound of howling wind and distant sirens. I stood frozen, gripping the receiver. I didn't speak. I just listened to the ragged breathing of the man who used to be my husband. Hannah, I got scammed. Lauren left me. She took everything. The police are looking for me. I have nowhere to go. Please, can you wire me some money for a defense lawyer to post bail? I swear I still love you. She brainwashed me. Help me this one time and I'll come back to LA. We can start over. The pathetic begging flowed like a broken dam, but reaching my ears, it was meaningless and laughable. Did he still think I was the naive Hannah from years ago? Did he think a few sweet words and fake tears could sway me? I took a deep breath, my voice echoing cold and ancient as glacial ice. You have the wrong number. What? The man named Felix, the husband I loved and trusted, died 2 years ago at LAX. The person I'm speaking to right now is just a stranger and an international fugitive. Hannah, don't be so cruel. We were husband and wife, he howled in despair. Cruel? I scoffed. The cruelty I possess today was taught to me by you, Felix. You made your bed, now lie in it. Do not ever call me again. I don't have a dime. For you, and I certainly don't have the charity to save the man who shoved a knife into my heart. I slammed the phone down, severing the final string connecting me to the past. The shop was quiet again, but my mind was reeling. I stood there, my hand shaking slightly on the receiver. Suddenly, the soothing scent of chamomile wafted behind me. I turned. Tyler was standing there. I didn't know how long he had been there. He didn't say a word. His deep eyes looked at me with total understanding and grace. He had heard everything, but he chose silence, no judgment, no prying. Tyler gently placed a steaming cup of tea in front of me. The vapor blurred my tear-filled eyes. He spoke softly, his voice a warm hum. Drink some tea. Hannah, it'll warm you up. It's cold tonight. That simple act of care, precisely when I was at my most vulnerable, melted the iceberg in my chest. I picked up the cup, the heat transferring from my hands to my heart. I realized I didn't need to force myself to be an iron woman anymore. The past was truly locked away with that click of the receiver. And the future, future as warm and peaceful as this cup of tea was waiting for me. 2 days after Felix's desperate call, I received another. This time, it was from my father-in-law. The caller ID brought back memories of being the dutiful daughter-in-law, always panicking when the in-laws called, worried something was wrong. But this time, the voice wasn't authoritative or demanding. It was trembling and defeated. Hannah, it's Dad, your mother. She had a massive stroke. She's in the ICU in Orange County. She keeps mumbling your name in her sleep. I know our family wronged you horribly, but could you find it in your heart to come see her one last time? I held the phone, my heart sinking. My hatred for Felix remained, but toward these two elderly people in the suburbs, despite their blind protection of their son, I felt more pity than anger. They were victims of their own toxic coddling, and now they were paying the price in their twilight years. I drove to the hospital that night. The ICU corridor was dead silent, smelling of sterile alcohol and the cold reality of mortality. I found my father-in-law, huddled on a waiting room bench, looking skeletal and aged a decade since I last saw him. Seeing me, he awkwardly stood up, his eyes red and brimming with tears. He didn't speak, just pointed toward the room. My mother-in-law lay on the stark white bed, hooked up to an array of monitors and tubes. Her face was distorted from the stroke, her eyes glassy and vacant, staring at the ceiling. When I approached, a faint flicker of recognition sparked in her eyes. She tried to move her hand, hooked to an IV, her mouth, making garbled, incoherent sounds. I took her frail, wrinkled hand. This was the hand that used to point at me, scold me, and threaten me. Now it was weak and pitifully cold. A tear leaked from her eye, sliding down into her oxygen mask. I leaned in close to catch her. Raspy, broken whisper. Hannah, I was wrong. Forgive me. A wave of profound sorrow swelled in my chest. This apology, if only she had said it years ago, if only she had taught her son to be a decent human being, this tragedy would never have happened. But life doesn't do what-ifs. I squeezed her hand and whispered, Mom, rest now. Don't worry about it anymore. The past is in the past. I don't hold a grudge. I said I forgave her, not because she deserved it, but because I wanted to free my own soul. Holding on to hatred is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I wanted my heart to be clean so I could live the rest of my Burmatian life. Before leaving, I stopped by the billing department. I paid off her outstanding ICU balance and left a deposit large enough to cover her upcoming medications. My father-in-law held the receipts, his hands shaking as he broke down sobbing. Like a child. He couldn't even look me in the eye, just muttering endless thank yous. I looked at him, feeling strangely at peace. This was the last time I would fulfill my duty to this family, A definitive, humane period at the end of a broken sentence. News of the transnational crypto fraud ring involving expats in the UK exploded across American news sites. Due to the scale and severity, it caught the attention of domestic media. Photos of the suspects being escorted by British police out of a London courthouse flooded the internet. Even with his face partially blurred, I easily recognized Felix's silhouette in that drab gray prison tracksuit. The article detailed the trial. Felix was convicted of money laundering and wire fraud because he couldn't prove where his initial seed money came from, and because he acted as a mule for the syndicate, the evidence was insurmountable. He was sentenced to 5 years in a UK federal prison. Upon release, he would be permanently deported to the US and banned from entering the UK ever again. I read the words on my screen, feeling like I was reading about a complete stranger. There was no joy, no resentment, just an empty void and a sigh for a wasted life. Felix had everything: a great career, a warm home, a wife who loved him fiercely. But his bottomless greed and delusions of grandeur led him to smash it all to pieces. Now, he was paying for it with his prime years behind. Bars in a foreign land. My phone started blowing up. Old friends, distant relatives who had sneered at me during the divorce, calling me a discarded woman, were now texting and calling relentlessly. Some congratulated me on dodging a bullet. Some praised my foresight. Some shamelessly asked for my secret to winning the assets back. Hannah, thank God you dumped him early. Imagine being the wife of a federal convict. Karma is real. You're living the dream now, rich and single. I skimmed the messages, smiling cynically. Human nature is so fickle. When you fall off your horse, they'll step on you to push you deeper into the mud. But when you stand up and shine, they surround you, pretending they were your best friends all along. I didn't reply to a single one. I turned off my phone, brewed a pot of chamomile tea, and sat on my balcony overlooking Pasadena. The amber streetlights filtered through the oak trees, casting dancing shadows. I took a sip, letting the warm, floral sweetness coat my tongue. The saga of Felix, the broken marriage, the chaotic drama, it was all finally over. The law had delivered its verdict, and karma had delivered its own. Autumn in LA can bring sudden, lingering rains. Serenity Tea and Ceramics was quiet that afternoon, the rain drumming against the roof tiles, creating a blank Stonatum India plude. Somber melody. I was wiping down the pottery shelves when Tyler walked in. Wood was holding a bouquet of white lotuses carefully wrapped in vintage newspaper, my absolute favorite flower. Tyler shook off his wet jacket, hung it up, and walked over, placing the flowers on the counter. The pure scent of the lotus mixed with the petrichor of the common rain, creating an incredibly peaceful atmosphere. He looked at me, his eyes deeper and more resolute than his usual quiet demeanor. Hannah, his deep voice broke the silence. I know you're still haunted by the past. I know your wounds haven't fully healed, but I don't want to hide my feelings anymore. I froze, the rag trembling in my hand. I knew this day would come, but I didn't expect it on a rainy afternoon like this. I looked down, avoiding his gaze. Tyler, you don't have to. He took a step closer. The distance between us vanished, close enough that I could feel his body heat. I'm not a smooth talker. I'm not rich enough to. I promise you a life of luxury. I'm just a contractor raising a kid by himself. But I can promise you one thing. If you let me into your life, I will never, ever let you feel worried, suspicious, or unsafe again. I looked up at him. In the eyes of this rugged, weathered man, there was no calculation, no lust. There was only a raw, heartbreaking sincerity. He was like a rough, gnarled oak tree, prickly on the outside, but full of warm, life-giving sap, ready to shelter anyone who leaned against it. I'm scared, I confessed, my voice a whisper. I'm scared of trusting the wrong person again. I'm scared that one day, this sincerity will vanish, just like it did before. Tyler smiled, a gentle, kind smile that lit up his weathered face. He gently took my hand, which was still dusted with clay. I understand your fear, because I was terrified when my wife died. I was scared I could never love again, scared my daughter would suffer. But meeting you, I realized I want to take care of you. I want to grow old with you. I have my whole life to wait for you, Hannah. Whether it takes 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, I'll stand right here, waiting until you're ready to open your heart. It wasn't a poetic confession. There were no candles or red roses, but it shook my soul far harder than any grand romantic vow ever could. Outside, the rain continued to fall, but inside, a warm ray of sunlight pierced through my chest, thawing the darkest, coldest corners of my heart. After that rainy afternoon, my relationship with Tyler entered a new matal chapter, gentle and natural as breathing. I didn't officially call him my boyfriend yet, but I allowed us the space to explore, to step into each other's lives with cautious optimism. I began to observe Tyler closely, not with the blind eyes of a girl in love, but with the sharp vigilance of a divorced woman. Tyler didn't use words to prove himself. He used actions. He gave me the passcodes to his phone, his social media, even his home safe, without me ever asking. I have nothing to hide from you, he told me. Transparency is the foundation of trust. I want you to feel absolutely safe with me. I started going over to his house for dinner, playing with Bella, watching him patiently braid his daughter's hair, watching him carefully pick the bones out of her fish during dinner. I saw a father overflowing with responsibility and love. A man who loves his child that deeply would never be cruel to his partner. But the moment the fortress around my heart truly crumbled came by accident. One evening, I went to Tyler's house early to take Bella to the bookstore. The front door was slightly ajar. I was about to push it open when I heard Tyler murmuring in the living room. I paused, looking through the crack. Tyler was standing in front of a small memorial table for his late wife. He was lighting incense. The smoke curled upward, framing the photo of a young, kind-faced woman. He clasped his hands, his voice thick with emotion. Hey, today I'm taking Bella to get books with Hannah. Bella adores her. She talks about her nonstop. And I love her very much too. She's been through so much pain. I want to make it up to her. Please, watch over me and Bella, and watch over Hannah too. I promise I will take care of her, just like I promised I would take care of you. I stood paralyzed on the porch, tears streaming uncontrollably down my face. He didn't just love me, he honored his past. He respected the wife he lost. A man with that much integrity, a man who kept his promises to the dead, gave me absolutely no reason to doubt his sincerity to the living. In that moment, I knew I had found the right person. Tyler wasn't the most perfect man in the perfect world, but he was the perfect puzzle piece to fill the cracks in my soul. I wiped my tears, pushed the door open, and walked in, my heart brimming with absolute trust and peace. Our love grew quietly over the years, steady as an underground spring. But life wasn't always sunshine. One afternoon I noticed Tyler acting strange. He came to the shop late, his face gaunt, his eyes sporting dark circles like he hadn't slept in days. He tried to smile and chat normally, but a woman's intuition told me he was in deep trouble. I didn't interrogate him. I watched. He kept stepping outside to take tense phone calls, and I caught snippets of words like capital, delays, and payroll. Unable to watch him suffer, I invited Chloe out for coffee to dig for info. Chloe worked in commercial banking and was close to both of us. Chloe sighed, stirring her iced Americano. I wasn't going to say anything because Tyler begged me not to. He's too proud to worry you. But it's bad. The boutique hotel project he's contracting got its funding pulled by the developers. They owe him 3 payment cycles. He has to pay his crew, materials have skyrocketed, and he's scrambling for cash. He's even considering taking a second mortgage on his house. My heart clenched. I knew Tyler had immense pride. He was terrified that asking for help would make me think he was after my money, or that I'd pity him. But I forgot we weren't kids playing house anymore. That night, I cooked a massive dinner and waited for him. When he sat down, I placed a legal folder on the table. It was an investment partnership contract Steven had Lucy draft that very afternoon, complete with crystal clear terms on equity, liability, and profit sharing. I know about the hotel project, I said, looking him dead in the eye. I'm not giving you money, and I'm not loaning it to you out of pity. This is a business. Investment. I have liquid capital. I trust your expertise and your work ethic. I am buying into your project as a silent partner. We split the profits, we share the risks. Tyler stared at the contract, then at me. His eyes went red. He opened his mouth to refuse, but I placed my hand firmly over his. Tyler, loving someone means carrying the load together. If you view me as family, let me weather this storm with you. Don't let male ego ruin us. My blunt sincerity broke through his stubborn pride. Tyler picked up the pen and signed the contract, his trembling hand squeezing mine. We weren't just lovers anymore. We were comrades in the trenches. Time flew. 2 years passed since Felix was locked away in a UK prison. My life with Tyler had settled into a beautiful rhythm. Serenity Tea and Ceramics was thriving, becoming a sanctuary for many. I thought the name Felix was buried forever, until one windy late afternoon, a man appeared at the front door of the shop. He was hunched, shuffling, and looked so battered I almost didn't recognize him. His hair was graying and patchy, his skin leathery from the sun, wearing a Linaplace, baggy, faded t-shirt. But the eyes that cowardly, greedy, pathetic gaze were unforgettable. It was Felix. He had been released early, likely deported back to the US. Immediately, dumped in LA with nothing but the clothes on his back. He stood there, staring at my beautiful shop with undisguised envy and hunger. "Hannah, how are you?" Felix rasped, his voice sounding like grinding metal. "I'm back. I knew you'd still be here." I stepped out from behind the counter, standing tall, my spine straight. There was no fear, no lingering pain. I looked at him like he was a confused tourist, asking for directions. Tyler, who was watering the plants on the patio, dropped the hose and immediately stepped inside, positioning his broad shoulders rightly beside me like an impenetrable fortress. "Why are you here?" I asked, my voice glacial. I'm starving, Hannah," Felix whimpered, looking like he was about to drop to his knees. "I just got back. I have no home. My parents are broke and sick. In OC, they can't take me in. Can you just loan me a few bucks? Or give me a job as a janitor here?" We used to be husband and wife. I looked at the pathetic creature in front of me. Zero pity. This was the man who called me boring, who dreamed of a luxurious European life. "Felix," I said slowly, enunciating every syllable. "We owe each other nothing. You're hungry? You have 2 working hands. Go flip burgers. My shop does not hire convicted felons who specialize in fraud. Leave immediately, or I'll have the police remove you." Felix froze. He glanced at Tyler, taking in the cold, murderous glare and Tyler's clenched fists. He knew he had zero leverage. He lowered his head, mumbled a string of curses, and turned away. His frail, lonely shadow disappeared down the street, swallowed by the Los Angeles dusk. I exhaled, feeling like I had just brushed a speck of dust off my shoulder. A few days later, a handwritten letter arrived in the mail. The envelope was battered, the handwriting messy but familiar. I knew who it was from. Perhaps, before vanishing into the underbelly of the city, Felix needed the last word. I hesitated, then opened it. I wanted to see what excuses he had left. "Hannah, by the time you read this, I'll be gone. I can't face you, or watch you. Be happy with someone else. I'm not writing to ask for money or forgiveness. I know I don't deserve it. I just want to confess the truth. When I married you, I never really loved you. I just saw a nice, hardworking girl with a good inheritance from her parents. I thought you'd be a docile, obedient wife I could use as a stepping stone for my ambitions. I calculated everything from day one, but I was wrong. I threw away the most precious diamond to chase river rocks. Sitting in that prison cell, I realized the cost of my betrayal. I regret it, but it's too late. Be happy. Forget I ever existed like a bad nightmare." Reading the letter, I didn't cry, nor was I angry. Instead, a profound sense of relief washed over me. He finally admitted who he was. That cruel confession erased the last tiny sliver of doubt I had about my past. I was never loved, meaning the divorce wasn't a tragedy, it was the luckiest escape of my life. I picked up a lighter, held the letter over a ceramic ashtray, and set it on ashtray fire. The flames consumed the paper, turning his late apologies into ash. I watched the embers float away, and whispered, "Goodbye, Felix. We are truly." Avon. I walked back into the living room where Tyler was helping Bella with her math. Homework. Their laughter filled the room with warmth. This was my reality. This was the happiness I needed to protect. That summer, Tyler took me and Bella on a road trip up the PCH to Malibu. After years of stress and hard work, we needed the ocean air. The Pacific was a brilliant azure, the California sun baking the white sand. Watching Bella chase the seagulls, laughing hysterically, I felt utterly at peace. As the sun began to set, painting the sky in strokes of violent purple and fiery orange, Tyler asked me to walk with him along the surf. We walked in comfortable silence, the waves washing over our bare feet. Suddenly, Tyler stopped. He turned to me, the sunset reflecting in his dark eyes. "Hannah," his voice mingled with the crashing waves. "Do you think the ocean looks beautiful today?" "It's gorgeous," I smiled, inhaling the salty air. Tyler took a deep breath, like a man diving off a cliff. He dropped to one knee in the wet sand. From his pocket, he pulled out a small velvet box. I gasped, my hands flying to cover my mouth. Bella, seeing her dad kneel, squealed with joy and sprinted over, her big eyes wide with anticipation. "Hannah, I'm not a perfect man. I have a past, I have baggage, and sometimes I'm too quiet. I can't promise you a life without storms because life is unpredictable. But I promise you this, no matter how vicious the storm gets, I will always stand in front of you, and I will never let go of your hand." He opened the box. Inside sat a simple, elegant white gold ring. "Will you marry? To me? Will you be my wife? Be a mother to my daughter? And walk the rest of this life with me?" Tears spilled over my lashes, hot against the cool sea breeze. These weren't the tears of agony from LAX. They were tears of pure, unadulterated joy. I looked at Tyler, then at Bella, who was practically vibrating with excitement. I nodded. Fiercely. "Yes, yes, Tyler." Tyler's hands shook as he slid the ring onto my finger. He stood up and wrapped me in a bear hug. Bella threw her arms around our legs, giggling uncontrollably. We stood there, a family forged by choice, anchored against the vast ocean. Our wedding happened in late autumn, when the LA heat finally broke. There were no rented limos, no extravagant ballroom at a Beverly Hills hotel. We held a small, intimate ceremony right in the courtyard of Serenity Tea and Ceramics. The guests were just our parents, Bella, and our closest friends like Lucy and Chloe. I wore a simple ivory silk slip dress, my hair pinned up with a single white lotus. Tyler ditched the stiff tuxedo for a beige linen suit. When my father walked me down the aisle, his eyes were red. He placed my hand in Tyler's and whispered, "I'm giving you my most precious gem. Promise me you won't ever let her cry again." Tyler gripped my hand, looking at my dad with absolute respect. "I promise, sir. Hannah is my life. I swear on my life I will protect her." During the ring exchange, there wasn't a dry eye in the house. Just as the time and exchange, 2020, officiant pronounced us husband and wife. Bella ran up, wedging herself between us. She looked up at me, her little voice ringing clear across the silent courtyard. "Miss Hannah! Oh wait, I have to call you Mom now, right? Mom, do you love me as much as you love Dad?" The crowd erupted in laughter and applause. I knelt down, pulling her into a fierce hug, tears of joy streaming down my face. I kissed her forehead. "I love you the most, Bella, even more than Dad." Tyler laughed, wrapping his long arms around both of us. In his embrace, surrounded by laughter, I felt absolute perfection. This wasn't a wedding to show off to the world. It was a declaration of survival, a sanctuary where the Reach Tardings quos, storm ends at the front door. A year later, our joy doubled when I found out I was pregnant. The day the test showed 2 pink lines, Tyler screamed, picked me up, and spun me around the living room until we were both dizzy. We decided to nickname the baby Clay, a tribute to the shop where we fell in love, and a symbol of something molded through fire to become unbreakable. During my pregnancy, I stepped back from the heavy lifting at the shop, but I didn't retire. Serenity wasn't just a business anymore. It had become a safe haven for women who had gone through bad divorces, a place to heal. On weekend afternoons, I hosted small pottery and floral arrangement workshops. There, women shared their stories. I met women who were exactly like I used to. Be weak, submissive, terrified of leaving a toxic marriage. I remember a young girl named Maya who came in with swollen eyes and bruises on her wrists. She sobbed about her abusive husband and her fear of being a single mom. I sat next to her, held her hand, and told her my story. "Look at this," I said, pointing to a slightly asymmetrical but beautifully glazed vase. "Clay has to go through a 2000-degree kiln to become porcelain. Women are the same. Falling down isn't scary. What's scary is staying on the ground and letting them step on you. You have hands, you have a brain. Why rely on a man who doesn't value you?" I didn't preach. I just showed them that happiness is a choice, and financial, emotional independence is the best armor a woman can wear. Looking at Maya's eyes slowly regain their spark, I realized my new purpose. I used my own agonizing trauma to light a match for others in the dark. Clay was born healthy, strong, and looking exactly like his dad. My life became a whirlwind of diapers, baby giggles, and the relentless pampering from Tyler and Bella. Everything was perfect until one sweltering July afternoon. I was sitting in the air-conditioned SUV in a Target parking lot, waiting for Tyler to grab baby formula. Outside, the LA heat was pushing 100 degrees, the asphalt shimmering with mirages. My eyes casually drifted to a middle-aged man struggling to push a beat-up scooter loaded with massive DoorDash and Uber Eats bags onto the sidewalk. He was wearing a faded, sweat-drenched delivery shirt. His face was tan dark, heavily lined with exhaustion and the brutal reality of poverty. He pulled down his bandana to take a frantic swig from a plastic water bottle. In that split second, I froze. Despite the ravages of time and labor, I recognized him. It was Felix, the man who used to wear tailored suits, drive an Audi, and dream of a European high life was now breaking his back, delivering fast food in the blistering Loudoun and LRA, California sun. He checked his phone desperately for the next order, his hands calloused and rough. He looked around with dead, exhausted eyes, kick-started his scooter, and vanished into the chaotic LA traffic to chase a few dollars in. Tips. Sitting in the cool AC of my car, I felt absolutely nothing. No triumph, no pity. It was like watching a documentary about a stranger. The universe is terrifyingly just. He had mocked my hard-earned money, chased a phantom of wealth, and ended up lower than where he started. Tyler opened the car door, breaking my trance. He tossed the formula in the back and noticed me staring out the window. "What are you looking at? See someone you know?" I turned to my husband, a soft, genuine smile on my lips. "No, baby, just someone who looked familiar. Let's go home. Clay is probably hungry." The SUV pulled out of the lot, leaving the ghost of Felix in the rearview mirror. I didn't look back. The past was dead and buried. My eyes were strictly on the road ahead, driving toward the home where my family was waiting. It was late at night. The neighborhood was quiet, save for the crickets in the Publishing garden. I sat on the second-floor balcony with a cup of hot chamomile tea, looking up at the stars. Inside the bedroom, Tyler was rocking Clay, softly, humming a slightly off-key but incredibly loving lullaby. I closed my eyes, inhaling the scent of night-blooming jasmine. I thought of the ghost, weeping woman at LAX years ago, and I silently thanked her. I thanked her for having the courage to let go. I thanked her for being ruthless when she had to. Happiness isn't the absence of pain. It's the ability to walk through the fire and find the light. I had crawled through the darkest tunnel of my life, and now, standing in the sun, I cherished every single ray. I was no longer the blank, naive, blindly devoted wife. I was a woman who had survived the storm, who knew her worth, and who fiercely protected her peace. Suddenly, the phone on the patio table buzzed. An unknown number at this hour. I almost ignored it, but intuition told me someone needed me. I answered. On the other end was the muffled, terrified sobbing of a young woman. "Hannah. It's me, Maya, from the pottery class. My husband just confessed he's got someone else. I don't know what to do. I want to die." I listened, my heart contracting with empathy. I looked through the glass door at my husband and my baby sleeping peacefully, then looked back up at the stars. My journey wasn't over. My peace wasn't just for me to hoard. It was meant to be shared with souls that were currently shattering. I smiled gently, my voice projecting a calm, unbreakable strength into the night. Breathe, Maya. Don't talk about dying. You have your child, and most importantly, you have yourself. Take a deep breath. Come to the shop tomorrow morning. I'll brew you the best pot of tea we have, and we'll figure this out together. Trust me, the sky is always brightest after the rain. You just have to be brave enough to look up. I hung up the phone, my heart full. Life is a cycle, and I was finally ready to be the lighthouse for those lost in the storm, just like I once was.